Hi people, welcome to Blue UK Jazz Dance. You're in the Blue Lab. I want to share with you my project called DSJ Dance and Spirit of Jazz began in 1981. Identified to dance and spirit of jazz is a value, attitude, it's a behaviour, it's traits, it's a culture, it's a lifestyle, it's movements. Now one of the key things our parents did, West Indian parents, taught their children. They taught the children to be free-spirited and they taught them to improvise. And they taught them that because learning for us had to be improvisational, okay? And to do that, you have to be free-spirited. You have to have no inhibitions when you go about improvising the skill. And our parents taught us that in the early learning years, in our child learning years, and our adolescence learning years. My parents came up from rural communities. My dad was Jamaican, born in rural community in 1935. My mum was born in 1942. Both of them never got a high school education. They learned to improvise. That's how they were brought up. That's how their parents were brought up. Improvisation plays a crucial role in the learning, the development of a child. In the 0 to 6 years, we have an oral tradition that's passed on from one generation to the other. Okay, Jamaicans have their own way of developing early learning their children, and Grenadians have their own way of developing their early learning, and it's all part of a rites of passage, giving us the tools from a boy to a man. Yeah. My mum had her own way, and my dad had their own way, and they had similar ways that were similar, which was important to us as an individual. As an individual, in 1981, created a project because I'd used dance as a vehicle, as an aid, as a tool to improve my writing skills, to improve my speaking skills, to improve my performance skills, and to improve my reading skills, particularly writing on the spot and reading out what I had on the spot, particularly reading, when I had to go do reading, was important. I did it to improve my emotional intelligence, my confidence, my resilience. Why? Because as a child, I was written off as a special education needs child in school. I was put on bottom tables. I had an IQ test. The IQ test identified I had a low IQ. I was lucky. What happened was I had a teacher, private teacher, after that, who told me, "Bum, you haven't got a low IQ. Why is you don't understand English language?" He understood that straight away. Cut long story short, I learned to improvise different ways to build my confidence. So I created my own games, my own plays to learn, and it's through him and through my mother and father. That's how they taught me. I was taught as a special education needs child to experiment with ideas, to learn mathematics, to remember key information for exams, etc., etc. And that has stayed with me most of my life. And as an individual, I was taught to find an activity, use your talents. One of them was gift, one of them was dance, one of them was sports, one of them was chess, one of them was designing cars and designing kites. One of them was singing, music, visual arts. I used these activities because what happened, your parents and my tutor, private tutor, identified you need to find an outlet that gives you confidence, an outlet that makes you confident, an outlet that you can transfer the confidence from that outlet to to your learning, etc. And that was dance. It's been the major thing from a very early age to now. The number one thing I do is freestyle dancing and dancing to social jazz music. Now, social jazz dance music, we call it UK jazz dance, which is an umbrella term for a number of underground jazz dance styles. It's unique to me as an individual because we had no school. It was basically, you started from home, you had records, you danced the records in a free-spirited way, freestyling, and you improvise. You learn to improvise to it, and you create your own moves, made decisions, this is my style, etc., etc., developed your own learning, training, development, and that is part of DSJ, I'm saying to individuals. And what happened was it shaped certain characteristics. Why I'm talking about the DSJ project, because what happened was it was very important for me to share this. I was sharing it with students. This is my hobby, this is what I do, and I share the benefits. So I shared the health benefits, I shared the cognition benefits, I shared the value benefits that I identified. It gave me life skills, it improved my life skills, it improved my people skills, it improved my personality and character, which is very, very important. Yeah, it improved transferable skills. It's important for people to understand. It improved my planning and organising skills, being involved in dance. And my dance, luckily, as an individual, like I said, had complementary arts. So dance is one of the greatest art forms you can involve in because it involves complementary arts. It involves politics, economics, technological, environmental, environmental and legal aspects, social, physical, intellectual, cultural, emotional, spiritual, political, economic, technological, environmental, and legal aspects. Do you understand? Because dance doesn't exist in a vacuum. That's one thing you learn. Different cultures are involved in it. Jazz, my jazz period was started from 1964, which is important. One of the key things I talk about is rediscovering jazz for my era, because what happened, one of the most important things I need to share with people in Britain, they miseducated people on jazz. They didn't educate us at school on jazz music or educate us on jazz dance. They actually lied to us and kept away from us that black people had been in Britain for over 500 years. Black people who are here bringing jazz dance here, tap dance, new styles of cakewalk and etc. through productions, etc. People came here to live. The father of jazz came here to tour and ended up dying here, 1848 to 52. A number of key things took place in Britain to make us feel that we had nothing to do with the values that was now in the society that we lived. I wrote a statement from talking about, do you know, for over 200 years, jazz dance, social jazz dance has existed, and it's existed helping bond parents, bond children, unite communities, close generation gaps, helping people to overcome language barriers, sealing friendships, patching up differences, instilling civic, cultural and creative pride. That is what it's done. Do you understand? And I wanted to share that with individuals because black dance in general was debased by Western society, and they tried to make us feel bad, and it did make some people feel bad. But because my parents' teachings, my late Jamaican father, Grenadian mother, was anything that you create in your culture, is good. Celebrate it, promote it, preserve it. That's what my parents taught me. Any gift you have, use it, promote it, share it with others. Be daring with it and push the boundaries of your learning with it, because you never know where it's going to take you. So that's one of the key things. I became a professional dancer. I never thought I'd be a professional dancer. Everybody got that? Some people started off boxing for fun. Next minute they became professional boxers. They never thought that would be the road. But that road happened because they pushed the boundaries of the learning. It's called DISJ. Do you understand? They pushed the boundaries. They went into it, looking before they leapt. They gave it all they had because they knew that was a talent and a gift. I knew dance was a talent and a gift amongst many other talents I had, and I used it. I used sports, and sports and dance opened the door. Now, the sports talent was needed because you can't be involved in my type of dance without being athletic. Do you understand? It's important. What was important in my dance? Research and development is important in my dance. What's important in my dance? Continuous personal development is important in my dance. What's important in my dance? Positive mental attitude training is important in my dance. What's important in my dance? Continuous professional dance development. Because what happened, one of the key things, when you talk about jazz, you have to know the roots of it. And so I went to look into the roots of jazz development from Africa, Brazil, the Caribbean. I looked at the Moors in Europe because I ended up creating my own style of mambo jazz, Latin jazz. So we went to Cuba, the biggest Caribbean island, as an individual. And when you search into that history, you find that the history that has been presented is one that's been wrong, because people don't talk about the Moors in Europe. They tried to hide their instruments, etc., and tried to identify that the Europeans were the ones that brought harmony to blacks. That's the big Africans. That's the biggest fabrication in history, because the Africans had choras, 100-string instruments. We had marimbas. We had our own voice, and the voice setting, or the voice vocals, were in dissonant notes. We had a whole range of instruments. Nowhere in Europe did they have as many dances, as many songs, as many different instruments as they do in the continent of Africa. It's totally impossible. And what happened is, it's important to understand that dance and music is integral to our living, to our rites of passage. So what we did, we had a rites of passage in dance, a rites of passage in dance for women, rites of passage in dance for males, and the community was bonded by this. They built camaraderie through dance. That's what you see anywhere we go in the world. African dance for people, what you see, music and dance is important. It's not because it's something that's shallow. It's because it has a benefit. So I, as an individual, through Dancing Spirit Jazz Project, I was the first one to start to talk about the values of dance. What was the role of my social dance? It's